You have prepared. You have considered the cost, imagined the outcome, rehearsed the conversation, and examined the decision from every possible angle. You are not careless. You are not empty. You are not without purpose. Yet you remain at the doorway, motionless, waiting for one final visitor to arrive, the feeling of confidence. And the feeling has not come, so you make a bargain with fear. You say, when you leave, I will move. When my hands stop trembling, I will begin. When uncertainty becomes certainty, I will step through. But fear keeps its seat because delay has given it authority. The door remains unopened, not because you lack the capacity to walk, but because you have demanded that movement first produce its own guarantee. Listen carefully. The doorway cannot teach you what belongs to the road. You may study the entrance, you may inspect the hinges, you may calculate every possible turn beyond it. But no amount of standing still can give you the experience that only movement supplies. There are lessons that will not meet you in contemplation. There is strength that will not appear before it is required. There is clarity that waits beyond the first responsible step. Fear is not always a stop sign. Sometimes fear is simply the emotion that accompanies an unfamiliar responsibility. It can announce uncertainty without proving incapacity. It can make noise without possessing authority. Stop treating every nervous feeling as a verdict against your ability. You do not always act because you are confident. Often, responsible action gives confidence something to stand on. That is the reversal. Movement produces evidence. Evidence, honestly examined, produces correction. Correction strengthens preparation. Repeated preparation and action create a record, and that record becomes earned self-trust. This is not a command to rush blindly. Responsibility must govern the size, timing, and integrity of every step. But wisdom is not the same as endless delay. Caution can protect purpose. Avoidance can imprison it. Perhaps you are not waiting for readiness. Perhaps readiness is waiting for your responsible movement. So we must examine what you have been calling confidence. If it is not applause, if it is not emotional certainty, and if it is not the absence of fear, then what is it? And what kind of action can build it without becoming reckless? The unopened door has exposed the question. Now we must answer it. Confidence is neither noise from the crowd nor silence from fear. Confidence is a record. It is the growing body of evidence that says, I prepared, I acted, I faced what happened, I learned from what happened, and I can respond again. Notice what is absent from that definition. Confidence is not excitement. Excitement may rise before an opportunity and disappear when difficulty arrives. Confidence is not approval. Approval can be given today and withdrawn tomorrow. Confidence is not absolute certainty, a forceful personality, or a temporary hour in which anxiety becomes quiet. Those things may accompany confidence, but none of them can create it. A mood tells you how you feel in this moment. A record tells you how you have responded across many moments. That means the quiet person can build confidence. The nervous person can build confidence. The person who receives no recognition can build confidence. Why? Because confidence is not reserved for a personality type. It is produced through observable conduct. You meet responsibility, examine your response, correct what was weak, and return with greater wisdom. You are not flattering yourself. You are furnishing yourself with evidence. Applause is borrowed sound. It may encourage you. It may remind you that others recognize something valuable in your effort, but it cannot substitute for your own evidence of reliability. If the crowd becomes your record, then silence will feel like erasure. You will mistake attention for ability and approval for strength. Receive encouragement, but do not build your identity on an echo. Let support assist your action. Never ask it to replace your history. One item in the supporting research, E12, documents substantial audience interest in the idea that confidence can be practiced as a skill. That interest matters because it reveals a hunger for a buildable definition. But a view count does not prove the principle. Popularity is evidence of attention, not evidence of truth. The principle must stand on the sequence itself and on the record that sequence creates. Here is the sequence. Prepare responsibly. Act proportionately. Observe honestly. Learn specifically. Return willingly. Responsible action plus honest review plus correction produces evidence. Repeated evidence produces earned trust. Earned trust becomes confidence. Not emotional weather, not borrowed sound, not a performance of certainty, a record. This should relieve you. You do not have to manufacture a feeling before you begin. You can build what you thought you had to receive. You can place one truthful entry after another into the account of your own reliability. But every record has pages. Action writes on them. Review interprets them. Correction strengthens what comes next. And avoidance leaves them blank. The next question is not merely what confidence is. It is what chronic waiting has been teaching you in its place. Blank pages do not remain empty forever. If responsible action does not write on them, repeated avoidance will. It will record a different lesson. When uncertainty speaks, I retreat. When fear rises, responsibility must wait. When judgment is possible, I disappear. That lesson becomes a cycle. Fear prompts avoidance. Avoidance prevents practice. Without practice, uncertainty remains. Then the uncertainty preserved by avoidance is presented as proof that avoidance was wise. You say, I am still unsure, so I must not be ready. But you are still unsure because you keep refusing the experiences that could teach you. Waiting has manufactured the evidence it now uses against you. That is why the sentence, I need more confidence, must be examined. Sometimes what you need is more knowledge, counsel, safety, or preparation. But sometimes you do not need more confidence. You need one bounded, responsible attempt. One conversation begun with care. One decision tested within wise limits. One commitment honored while your emotions are still protesting. Capacity without use cannot become evidence. An unused key may belong to you. It may be properly cut. It may carry the ability to release the lock, but possession alone opens nothing. The key must approach what it was made to engage. In the same way, potential cannot prove itself while responsibility keeps its distance. Now distinguish wisdom from disguise. Thoughtful timing has a purpose. It says, I will wait until I have the necessary information. I will begin when the appropriate person is present. I will pause until this risk is responsibly reduced. Wise delay names what must happen, why it matters, and when the decision will be revisited. Fearful delay behaves differently. It keeps moving the condition. First, you will act when you know more. Then when you feel calmer. Then when criticism is unlikely. Then when success appears guaranteed. The date changes. The excuse matures. The responsibility remains untouched. And the cost expands. What begins as one postponed task becomes a weakened expectation of yourself. You stop trusting your own promises. You contribute less because participation carries the possibility of judgment. Soon your schedule, your choices, and even your ambitions are arranged around avoiding exposure. You are no longer merely escaping discomfort. You are teaching uncertainty to govern your life. Every time you abandon a responsibility solely to escape uncertainty, you cast a vote for uncertainty's authority. Stop calling that neutrality. It is training. But conviction must not drive you into impulsiveness. Movement by itself is not the answer. Reckless motion can damage what courage was meant to serve. So if waiting reproduces distrust, what kind of action produces trustworthy evidence? The answer is movement governed by responsibility. Such movement begins with truth. What do you know? What is your duty? What could this decision affect? What preparation has been completed? Who can question your judgment, examine your plan, or hold you accountable? Responsible action answers these questions before it advances. It does not demand perfect knowledge, but it refuses dishonest ignorance. It respects reality without surrendering authority to discomfort. There are two errors, and both abandon wisdom. Fear refuses every step because consequences exist. Impulse takes every step as though consequences do not exist. Fear closes its eyes and retreats. Impulse closes its eyes and rushes. Courage keeps its eyes open and accepts the next real obligation. That means courage can move before comfort, but responsibility determines the size, timing, and integrity of the move. Not every decision belongs on the same level of risk. A low-risk choice may permit immediate practice. Begin, observe, adjust. But when health, livelihood, safety, trust, or the well-being of another person may be seriously affected, the standard must rise. Greater stakes require stronger preparation. Seek qualified guidance. Install safeguards. Clarify who bears the consequences. If the full move exceeds your present capacity, reduce the scale of the first move without abandoning the responsibility altogether. Do not make bravery an excuse for carelessness. A smaller, honest step is stronger than a dramatic action built on denial. You may gather the missing information, practice under supervision, test one limited part, or create a clear point at which you will stop and reassess. Proportion is not cowardice. Proportion is wisdom giving courage, a usable form. And acting before you feel ready does not mean claiming competence you have not earned. Do not present yourself as trained when you are untrained. Do not accept authority you cannot yet exercise responsibly. Do not place others beneath the weight of your ambition while calling it faith in yourself. Confidence built on exaggeration is not confidence. It is exposure without integrity. Your identity may tell you that you are capable of growth. Responsibility tells you what that growth requires today. Identity declares possibility. Responsibility converts possibility into conduct. It carries intention across the distance between what you believe and what your decisions produce, while protecting the people who must live with those decisions. This is why responsible action creates trustworthy evidence. You are not proving that you can do everything. You are proving that you can face reality, honor limits, accept accountability, and still move. That record deserves trust because it was not purchased by pretending risk did not exist. So refuse the false choice. You do not have to remain frozen, and you do not have to become reckless. Choose the proportionate step. Name the risk. Respect the consequence. Secure the needed support. Then move with integrity. Now the guardrail is in place. But a guardrail is useful only when there is a road to travel. The next discipline is preparation, not preparation that becomes another hiding place, but preparation designed to produce a definite departure. Preparation is not the enemy of movement. Proper preparation is movement in its first form. It is the first deposit into the record of confidence because it proves that you can treat responsibility seriously before asking yourself to perform it publicly. Identify the responsibility. Gather the knowledge that is genuinely necessary. Rehearse the essential skills. Establish the safeguards appropriate to the consequences. Preparation should reduce preventable ignorance, reveal present limits, and equip the next responsible step. But preparation must have a boundary, because a process without a boundary can become delay with respectable language. You must separate readiness criteria from readiness feelings. Criteria can be named, criteria can be examined, criteria can be completed. You can determine what must be understood, what skill must be practiced, what permission must be secured, what protection must be installed, and what support must be available. Feelings are different. Feelings can move the finish line after every requirement has been satisfied. You complete the training, but still feel uncertain. You receive the counsel, but still feel exposed. You rehearse the task, but still imagine criticism. If comfort becomes the final requirement, preparation may never end. That is where perfectionism becomes dangerous. Excellence prepares carefully and then accepts evaluation. Perfectionism keeps adding preparation, so it will never have to face a real result. It says one more revision, one more rehearsal, one more opinion. It wears the appearance of diligence, but when it refuses every encounter with reality, it is fear dressed in the clothing of excellence. Ask 5 questions. What is the next responsible step? What must be known first? Who may be affected? What support is needed? When will the attempt occur? Do not leave the 5th question unanswered. Preparation needs a departure line, a date, a decision point, a submission, a conversation, a scheduled rehearsal, or a bounded trial. The line does not excuse recklessness. If a necessary safeguard remains absent, address it. If essential knowledge is missing, obtain it. If another person faces serious consequences, honor that responsibility. But once the named standards are met, stop inventing new conditions merely to escape exposure. Say it plainly. When these requirements are complete, I will begin. Then write the requirements. Set the boundary. Honor the appointment. A plan proves useful when it delivers you to practice. Preparation may point toward ability, but only action can test what preparation has produced. That test may be imperfect. It may reveal weakness. It may disturb the image you hope to preserve. Good. Reality has now given you something avoidance never could. Information. Once preparation reaches its rightful limit, begin. The next evidence will not come from another private rehearsal. It will come from the attempt and from what you are willing to see, learn, and correct afterward. The attempt has occurred. Now do not waste it. Your first result is not a referendum on your worth. It is an experiment in responsibility. You prepared according to what you knew, acted within proper limits, and allowed reality to test your present understanding. The outcome may affirm some strengths and expose some weaknesses. Let it speak accurately. Do not force it to say more than it knows. This attempt to expose the weakness is useful. I am a failure is captivity. One statement identifies something that can be trained, supplied, adjusted, or repaired. The other turns one event into a permanent identity. One produces a next step. The other shuts the future behind a verdict. Never make your identity carry what belongs to your review. Face the result. Ask 5 questions. What worked? Name it without false humility. If the preparation served you, record it. If your judgment was sound, acknowledge it. If you remained responsible under pressure, count that as evidence. What failed? Do not soften it to protect your image. Was the execution weak? Was the timing poor? Did you abandon the plan when discomfort rose? Truth is not your enemy. Truth is the material correction uses. What was missing? Perhaps you lacked knowledge, practice, support, clarity, or a safeguard. Name the absence specifically. A vague judgment creates vague shame. A precise diagnosis creates a possible response. What is controllable? You cannot revise every circumstance, manage every reaction, or guarantee every result. But you can examine your preparation, conduct, communication, timing, and willingness to learn. Take responsibility for what belongs to you. Release what does not. What will change on the next attempt? This question converts reflection into correction. Decide what you will practice, obtain, remove, strengthen, or do differently. Give the lesson a visible form. That is correction. Correction changes conduct. Condemnation merely consumes energy. Self-punishment can feel serious because it is painful, but pain by itself improves nothing. Rehearsing your embarrassment is not the same as repairing your approach. Calling yourself names is not accountability. If the next decision remains unchanged, punishment has produced no wisdom. Confidence grows when you know your errors will not be hidden, defended, or repeated blindly. You begin to trust yourself because you have evidence that weakness can be faced and answered. You are not promising never to stumble. You are proving that when a result exposes you, you will examine it, make the necessary change, and return. Prepare, act, review, correct, repeat. Each cycle gives you a more accurate understanding of your ability and a deeper respect for your responsibility. Success can provide evidence, but so can a corrected mistake. A flawless history is not required. What is required is the courage to meet the truth without surrendering your identity, and the discipline to re-enter practice with greater wisdom. But if correction is possible, why does one imperfect attempt still feel so terrifying? Often, it is not the mistake you fear most. It is the audience you imagine witnessing it. You have granted the crowd authority over an assignment it cannot perform for you. The grandstand is crowded with opinions because opinion carries little weight when someone else bears the consequence. From a distance, every decision looks simple. Every hesitation looks foolish. Every imperfection becomes material for commentary. But in the arena, commentary must surrender to responsibility. A choice must be made. A cost must be considered. A contribution must be offered. You cannot complete your assignment as a spectator to your own life. Yet fear persuades you to remain seated and manage the reactions of people who are not carrying your obligation. You rehearse what they might say. You revise yourself for interpretations they have not formed. You spend strength answering accusations that have not been spoken. Meanwhile, the work receives less preparation. The people you could serve receive less attention, and the responsibility remains unfulfilled. You are attempting the impossible, controlling every interpretation before you act. You cannot do it. Some will misunderstand careful action. Some will criticize unfinished growth. Some will approve without understanding the cost. Their reactions may contain information, but they do not all possess authority. So weigh judgment. Do not worship it, and do not dismiss it indiscriminately. Who is affected by the decision? Their concerns deserve attention. Who possesses relevant wisdom and has earned the right to question your approach? Listen. What standards govern the responsibility? Measure yourself honestly. What consequences reveal about the quality of your conduct? Examine them. This is accountability, and accountability strengthens responsible courage. But anonymous approval has no right to command your movement. Uninformed opinion does not become wise because it is loud. Distance from the consequence does not create authority over the decision. Give correction its proper weight. Refuse to give commentary a throne. And understand this. Being seen learning is not the same as being revealed as worthless. Visibility may expose an unfinished skill, an incomplete understanding, or a necessary adjustment. Let it. You already know what to do with accurate information. Face it. Learn. Correct. Return. Your identity is not reduced because growth became visible. Insecurity asks, how can I avoid looking unfinished? Purpose asks, what must I responsibly offer now? One protects an image. The other produces a contribution. One arranges life around appearance. The other accepts the discipline of becoming useful. Leave the place where impressions govern you. Enter responsible participation. Listen to those who share the consequence, understand the standard, and can help you improve. Release the rest from authority they were never meant to hold. When the crowd loses command, responsibility becomes audible again. Then the deeper question emerges, if approval does not govern you, what will? The answer is purpose expressed through obedience, through the commitments you honor when no applause is promised and fear is still speaking. Purpose must govern where approval once ruled. But purpose is not a slogan you admire. Purpose becomes visible through obedience. In this context, obedience means acting in alignment with a responsibility you have clearly recognized and responsibly examined. It is not surrendering your judgment to pressure. It is not following a forceful personality merely because that person sounds certain. It is not complying with unsafe authority, ignoring consequences, or violating wisdom. Responsible obedience sees the duty, weighs the standard, respects the people affected, and then acts because the obligation is worthy, not because fear has disappeared. You may say, I am called. You may say, I am capable. You may say, I am committed. Those declarations name an identity, but conduct gives that identity a history. Potential announces possibility. Obedience supplies evidence. Make the call you agreed to make. Complete the draft you promised to complete. Practice the skill instead of merely admiring mastery. Request the feedback that can expose what needs strengthening. Repair the mistake without protecting your pride. Return at the appointed time, even when no one is there to applaud your discipline. These actions may appear small, but reliability is built from small promises that survive changing emotions. Every kept commitment says, my purpose can require something of me. Every responsible return says, discomfort does not cancel my duty. Every honest correction says, I can face weakness without abandoning the work. That is how identity becomes believable to you. Not through louder declarations, but through repeated alignment. What you claim, what you value, and what you do begin to agree. And from that agreement comes earned trust. Not the fantasy that says, I control every outcome. You do not. Results involve conditions, consequences, other people, and realities beyond your command. Earned trust speaks more truthfully. I can rely on myself to prepare responsibly, respond honestly, correct specifically, and continue faithfully. That conclusion is confidence with substance. You are no longer trying to prove that you cannot fail. You are establishing that failure will not make you disappear. You are no longer promising perfect performance. You are demonstrating dependable participation. You are becoming someone who can be entrusted with a responsibility because your commitments acquire conduct. And this transformation does not end with you. People benefit when your ability becomes reliable service. Work advances when you arrive prepared. Trust deepens when you repair what you damaged. Purpose gains practical expression when your contribution is available consistently, not merely when inspiration visits. Your potential may describe what you could become. Your obedience reveals what your purpose can presently depend upon. So stop announcing an identity that your habits continually postpone. Give your conviction a schedule. Give your purpose a behavior. Give your commitment a completed act. Now prove the principle in a bounded period. Do not wait for a dramatic opportunity. Choose one responsibility. Begin where you are and create 7 days of truthful evidence. Choose one delayed responsibility, not the most dramatic responsibility, not the most dangerous responsibility. Choose one that matters, one that fits your present authority, and one that is safe enough to practice within responsible limits. If serious consequences require qualified guidance, supervision, permission, or protection, honor that requirement. This challenge is not permission to gamble with your life or someone else's well-being. It is a disciplined refusal to keep postponing proportionate action. On day 1, define 4 things in writing. What is the responsibility? What is the smallest meaningful action that would move it forward? What risk must be respected? What preparation is actually required before you begin? Be specific. Improve my life cannot be completed today. Take this defined step toward this neglected obligation can. Reduce the assignment until it is clear enough to perform, but do not reduce it until it becomes meaningless. Small does not mean symbolic. Small means manageable, honest, and real. Then establish the rhythm for days 2 through 6. Prepare briefly, act visibly, record truthfully, correct specifically, and schedule the next step. Prepare briefly. Complete what the next action genuinely requires. Act visibly. Produce something reality can answer. A decision made, a request sent, a practice completed, a repair begun, a boundary communicated. Record truthfully. Write what you intended, what you did, and what happened. Memory often reshapes events to match the mood of the moment. A written record does not flatter your fear or exaggerate your progress. Correct specifically. Name one change that would make the next attempt wiser. Then schedule the next step before your emotions begin negotiating another delay. Do not wake each morning and reopen a decision already made responsibly. Give tomorrow an appointment before tonight gives fear another argument. For 7 days, refuse 3 sentences. Do not say, I must feel ready. Say, I do not need perfect feelings to take a responsible step. Do not say, I cannot be seen learning. Say, visible growth is not disgrace, it is responsible participation. Do not say, one mistake proves I am not capable. Say, one mistake gives me information for a better return. On day 7, examine the whole record. Do not ask only, did I achieve the perfect outcome? Ask better questions. Did I keep the commitments I made? Did my judgment improve? Did I discover that an error could be faced, repaired, and survived? Did I become more willing to begin because I knew I could review and adjust? That is the evidence you are seeking. Not 7 flawless days, 7 truthful days, days in which avoidance lost authority because responsibility received action. Do not spend this week trying to manufacture a different emotion. Build a record that gives emotion a reason to change. Feelings may follow slowly. Let them. Your assignment is not to command a mood. Your assignment is to become reliable in motion. Say it aloud. I do not need perfect feelings to take a responsible step. I will prepare, act, review, correct, and return. My trust will be built by commitments I keep. Write the responsibility. Define today's step. Set the time. Begin before inspiration fades. 7 days from now, you will not need to argue that you are changing. You will have something stronger than an argument. You will have evidence. Now return to the doorway. The capable person is still there. The responsibility is still real. Fear may still be speaking, but something has changed. Fear no longer holds the authority to decide. It may report discomfort. It may predict embarrassment. It may ask questions. Let it speak. Then let responsibility answer with movement. You know what confidence is now. Preparation establishes integrity. Action creates experience. Review reveals truth. Correction improves the next response. Repetition turns isolated effort into a pattern. And every commitment kept within responsible limits adds another line to the history of self-trust. Confidence is not the reward for eliminating uncertainty. Confidence is the result of meeting uncertainty responsibly. So abandon the old demand. I will move when confidence comes. Replace it with a stronger decision. Confidence will have evidence because I moved responsibly. Say it again, and mean it with your conduct. I do not need perfect feelings to take a responsible step. Choose the responsibility. Name the risk. Complete the necessary preparation. Do not demand emotional permission after wisdom has given you a responsible way forward. I can be seen learning because visible growth is responsible participation. Step across the threshold. Let reality answer. Let qualified counsel correct you. Let relevant judgment strengthen you. The crowd does not own your identity, and discomfort does not cancel your assignment. One mistake gives me information for a wiser return. Review without hiding. Correct without condemning yourself. Return without pretending. Take the next step with the wisdom the first step gave you. Choose, prepare, step, review, correct, return. Then repeat until your promises possess a history, your purpose possesses conduct, and your trust rests on something you have actually done. You cannot command every outcome. You cannot guarantee that every attempt will succeed, every person will understand, or every condition will cooperate. But you can become reliable in how you meet responsibility. You can prepare with integrity, act within proper limits, face the truth, repair what is yours, and come back wiser. That is sober confidence, not fearlessness, not applause, not control. It is earned trust. The door was never waiting for emotional perfection. It was waiting for responsible movement. Write the first step, set the time, honor it. Fear may cross the threshold with you. Cross anyway.